the silence of 1,000 unspoken failures, the hollow echo of a life built on sand. You feel it, don't you? That gnawing emptiness. The initial wound. There's a darkness that settles deep within, a cold truth whispered only in the quietest hours. It speaks of a life unlived, a purpose lost, a self-sabotage so profound it feels like a second skin. You chase the fleeting highs, the temporary fixes, but the void remains. Perhaps it's the weight of expectations, or the ghost of past traumas. Maybe it's the relentless pursuit of something external, believing it will fill the gaping hole inside. But it never does. This isn't about what you lack in your bank account. It's about what you lack in your soul. The insecurity that drives you, the addiction that binds you, the fear that paralyzes you. You build walls, not bridges. You accumulate, but never truly own. And in the end, you find yourself adrift, a stranger in your own life, wondering how you got here. This is the wound. This is the beginning of the end, or perhaps the beginning of something else entirely. You know what I'm talking about. Deep down, you also feel this quiet despair, this loss of identity, a gilded cage, slowly rusting, the architect of his own ruin. Meet the man who had everything and nothing. The presentation of the character. His name was Takeshi Yamamoto. 42 years old, a titan in Tokyo's financial district. His suits were tailored, his watch gleamed, his empire was vast. But beneath the polished veneer, Takeshi was a man in freefall. His days were a blur of high-stakes deals fueled by caffeine and a desperate need for control. His nights, a descent into the numbing embrace of expensive whiskey and fleeting company. He had built his fortune on manipulation, on cutting corners, on a cold disregard for the very honor his father had preached. The collapse was swift, brutal. A fraud scandal erupted. His carefully constructed world imploded. Friends vanished like smoke. His phone, once a lifeline, became a silent tomb. He was alone, utterly and completely. In his desperation, Takeshi didn't seek redemption. He sought revenge. He plunged deeper into debt, borrowing from shadows, plotting against those he believed had betrayed him. His internal crises manifested as tremors in his hands, sleepless nights haunted by his father's disappointed gaze. He was a storm, raging against himself, trapped in a cycle of destructive habits, his soul screaming for release. This was his breaking point, an ancient whisper in the modern chaos, a path forged by warriors, not by wealth, the forgotten code of the honorable heart, the ancestral philosophy. But sometimes in the deepest darkness, a faint light appears. For Takeshi, it came from an unexpected place, a worn, leather-bound diary, his father's. Within its pages lay the wisdom of Bushidō, the way of the warrior. Not the warrior of the battlefield, but the warrior of the spirit. Bushidō is more than a code of conduct. It is a philosophy of life, ancient and profound, yet intensely practical. It speaks of integrity, courage, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty. It is a path less traveled, often misunderstood, rarely applied to the modern struggle for existence. It is a secret whispered through generations, a way to navigate the chaos of the world with an unwavering inner compass. It teaches that true strength lies not in what you possess, but in how you conduct yourself. It confronts the illusion that money defines worth, revealing instead that honor is the only true currency. The true warrior does not possess wealth. His father's elegant script read, "Wealth possesses him if he does not possess honor." This was not about financial tips. This was about moral discipline. This was about reclaiming the self from the clutches of greed and fear. The first hesitant steps on a forgotten path. A battle fought not with swords but with habits. The slow, painful reconstruction of a shattered soul. The application in the character's life. Takeshi, initially skeptical, began to read. He saw his father's words not as a judgment, but as a map. He started small, painfully small. He stopped the nightly whiskey. He forced himself to wake before dawn to meditate, to confront the silence he had always drowned out. There were small victories, a moment of clarity after a meditation session, a day without the urge to retaliate. But there were also crushing relapses. The old habits, the old anger clawed at him. He found himself staring at his phone, fingers hovering over contacts he knew would lead him back to the abyss. Doubt was a constant companion. Could a man like him truly change? Was he not too far gone? Yet the diary's words echoed: Ji, rectitude; Yu, courage; Jin, benevolence; Rei, respect; Makoto, honesty; Meiyo, honor; Chugi, loyalty. He began to see how each principle could be applied, not just to a samurai, but to a man drowning in debt and despair. He started paying off his smallest debts, not for financial gain, but as an act of Makoto, of honesty to those he owed. He began to treat the few people left in his life with respect, even when they offered none in return. Slowly, painstakingly, his relationship with himself began to shift. He wasn't just a failed executive, he was a man attempting to rebuild his honor, one painful, deliberate step at a time. The storm returns, fiercer than before, on the precipice of surrender. The darkest night before the dawn, or perhaps eternal night. The final relapse. The world, however, rarely makes transformation easy. Just as Takeshi felt a fragile sense of progress, the past returned with a vengeance. Legal proceedings intensified, old enemies resurfaced, and the last vestiges of his reputation were publicly shredded. He was ridiculed, scorned, left with nothing but the clothes on his back and the diary in his hand. He found himself in a cheap, desolate apartment, the city lights mocking him through a grimy window. The whiskey bottle reappeared. The urge to simply cease, to disappear, became overwhelming. He was tired, so profoundly, utterly tired. He almost gave up. The Bushido principles felt like a cruel joke, a naive ideal in a world that rewarded ruthlessness. He screamed into the empty room, a primal cry of despair, questioning every painful step he had taken. This was his lowest point, a psychological abyss where the shadows of his past converged, threatening to consume him entirely. The fire within him, once a raging inferno of ambition, now flickered, barely a dying ember. He was on the edge, one breath away from letting the darkness claim him forever. The ember ignites, a truth forged in the crucible of despair. The mirror reveals not a monster, but a warrior. The revelation. In that moment of absolute surrender, something shifted. He clutched his father's diary, his fingers tracing the faded characters. He read a passage he had overlooked before, a single line that pierced through the fog of his despair. The true strength of a warrior is not in never falling, but in rising every time he falls, with greater honor. It wasn't about winning. It wasn't about success. It was about the act of rising. It was about the courage to face the shame, the failure, the debt, and still choose the path of integrity. He realized he had been fighting the wrong battle. He wasn't fighting to regain his wealth or his status. He was fighting to regain himself. The truth hit him like a lightning bolt. He was never weak for losing money. He was weak when he allowed money to define him, when he sacrificed his honor for its pursuit. His true weakness was losing the courage to live by his values, the values his father had embodied. The transformation wasn't financial, it was spiritual. It was the understanding that freedom wasn't the absence of debt, but the absence of the chains of greed and dishonor. He saw his reflection in the grimy window, not as a broken man, but as a warrior, scarred but not defeated, ready to rebuild, not an empire, but a life of purpose. From ashes, a new form emerges, the quiet strength of a reconstructed soul. A life lived with purpose, not possession. The rebirth Takeshi rose from that floor, not with a roar, but with a quiet resolve. The transformation was not magical, but a deliberate daily choice. He began to live by the principles of Bushido, not as a rigid code, but as a guiding light. His habits changed. He sought out work, any work, that allowed him to practice Makoto, honesty, and Chugi, loyalty. He started teaching martial arts to children in a local dojo, finding purpose in passing on his father's legacy, not just the physical techniques, but the underlying philosophy. His purpose shifted from accumulation to contribution, his mentality from scarcity to sufficiency. He learned to live with less, to find richness in simplicity, in the respect he earned, in the integrity he cultivated. He faced his creditors, not with excuses, but with a plan, a commitment, and a newfound sense of responsibility. He was no longer the executive, but a man of honor, rebuilding his life brick by painful brick. The scars remained, a testament to the storms he had weathered, but they no longer defined him. They were a reminder of the darkness he had overcome and the light he had found within. He was reborn, not into a life of luxury, but into a life of genuine freedom. The path is laid before you. What chains bind your spirit? What will you choose to rebuild today? The call to the viewer. Takeshi's journey is not unique. It is a mirror reflecting the struggles many of us face. The relentless pursuit of external validation. The quiet despair of a life out of alignment with our deepest values. Perhaps you too are trapped in a gilded cage of your own making. Perhaps you too feel the weight of unspoken failures, the burden of debt. Not just financial, but spiritual. The ancient wisdom of Bushido, or any profound philosophy, isn't a quick fix. It's an invitation to a deeper, more courageous way of living. It asks you to confront your own darkness, to find the truth hidden within your own story. What is your initial wound? What is the philosophy, the wisdom, the ancestral voice that calls to you? What truth about yourself have you been avoiding? This is not just a story, this is a challenge, a call to arms for your own soul. Paul, comment below. What is the one principle you will commit to living by starting today, to reclaim your honor and your freedom? What is your public declaration? What will you change today? The choice, as always, is yours.